Yay! That's it. We are live. Welcome, Zach.
Hello.
You're my live virgin.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. That's the dream. That's what I wanted.
It is. It's absolutely amazing to have you over here.
Thank you.
And what was your flight back? I just want to sort of cover because we actually did get to meet you at the
Yeah.
UK Games Expo, which was considerably exciting for me. Unfortunately, I had a torrid time, which I've talked about on this channel. But what was your experience? Was it your first time here?
It was my first time. In England, and it was great, fantastic. Went around Oxford and a lot of time in London, and it just kind of bouncing here and there. And I was there for about 12 days, so it was a nice, substantial-ish trip that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, no, perfect. Right, I think before we go back to the expo and Chaosium, you had the Chaosium weekends as well.
Yep.
Probably makes sense if I introduced you, though. Everyone on watching this is probably going to know who you are more than who I am.
Nope.
So I'm joined today for my first ever live interview. And I'm sorry this is thrown out. There's no sort of trailer or preamble. It was booked in for 3:00 today. And I just had this thing with Zach going, why don't we try this live? And he kindly agreed because he's far more of an expert at this than I am. So here we are. But okay, so before I go through anything, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Oh, goodness. Hi, I'm Zac Goins. I am the marketing director for Limithron. We make Pirate Borg. And other than that, I do a lot of writing for a lot of other systems, a lot of other games over the past several years.
You do write a lot when I was looking at DriveThruRPG, and that doesn't even include lots of other stuff that's out there. So, so it's actually really good to have you on. So first one on here. Right. So I just want to go back then to your experiences here in good old Blighty. You did, what was it? So Chaosium and then the Expo, wasn't it?
Yep. Chaosium Con UK, first year, which I was really excited to go because I hadn't been to even the Chaosium Con here in the States. So it's like if I have the opportunity, got to try to make it happen.
Yeah. I missed Chaosium Con this year. It was one of those that Pookie, you know Pookie. Everyone seems to know Pookie.
Matthew.
He was like, "Are you coming to Chaosium Con?" And I was like, "It's difficult for me because of dogs, kids to have 2 whole weekends out." And so I'd already got the tickets for the expo, but then you were just, what was it, 12 days over here in the UK?
Yep. And I mean, like Chaosium Con is like, it was like as being a first year, you got to expect it's a few hundred people basically. It's not a huge con by any means, but it was excellently ran. It was at a great venue in Cranfield. They have I think it was a science university there, a small one. Yeah. And kind of affixed to that, they had this like suite of basically a hotel with 400 rooms, and then all of these different rooms for lectures and for classrooms and things, which make excellent gaming rooms. So there was all sorts of things being played. I mean, they had everything from their new Age of Vikings RPG to, of course, a ton of Call of Cthulhu, to their brand new, like, it's not out yet, but the Horror on the Orient Express board game. Yeah, they were doing like demos and things there. So lots of cool things, little vendor hall, lots of great seminars and panels. So just, I think it was very, very well ran and well presented for a year one out the gate.
Yeah, no, it looked good because you got there was one of the photos on Facebook. Am I allowed to show your Facebook? Are you all right with it?
Yeah, knock yourself out. Yeah.
Because I was talking to my wife about you the other day because, and I'm gonna come on to this question in a minute. But yeah, this game, if I can work out how to share this on StreamYard, I was like, because people have talked about this game, and I was like, I really want to play it. And hold on, let's just get into. How do I do this one? It'd be that, wouldn't it? Yeah. This.
Oh, yeah.
Is that like, is that the Thunder Road one?
Yeah, Thunder Road Vendetta.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. This fellow, which I don't remember his name, so I apologize, but the gentleman sitting across from me brought it and was doing like pickup games the whole time. And I slipped into one of his games and loved it so much that I sat and just watched in on the second one, on another one. It's excellent. It's like it's Fury Road, it's Mad Max in a board game, where you're driving different sizes of cars and ramming into other cars and trying to race them along the Thunder Road, and be the first one to the end alive. And it's exactly what you want. It's like super easy to pick up, plays for about an hour. And there's so many choices that you do every turn, that even though it's a simple game, it's going to play different every single time you play it. So home run.
Yeah. No, that's good. Because there was the Games Workshop game in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think what that was called. And I saved up for that as a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't really know much about Games Workshop or any of that. And I remember buying it, coming home. My brother didn't play games with me. My parents didn't play games. You know, I had that horrible Hero Quest year where I got it for Christmas and I couldn't play it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I opened this box up and it was all on sprues. I was expecting it to be fully
really?
made up, painted. It was.
Yeah.
I'd spent weeks on pocket money for that. I was.
I think it was called Thunder Road originally, but I don't remember if it had the Vendetta tag. But yeah, I think it was called Thunder Road. And I had another gentleman playing alongside me, and he was saying it's just as he remembered it. It was. I mean, it's had some updates and some whatever, but it has the same spirit as the original. So
yeah. So I want you to try and. This is not gaming related in any way, shape, or form. I want you to fix an argument, let's say, between my wife and myself on one of your photos.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So we'll find out who's going to win on this one. And it's probably not going to be me. And it's this. And then I'm going to get onto, we'll get back to your proper stuff. But okay, so giant Yorkshire pudding here.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it like?
It was good. So I'll tell you right out the gate, I am not a grease person. Like, I don't like greasy food.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I liked about being in England is that you don't have an obsession with grease like we do in America. That was probably that Yorkshire was probably the greasiest thing I had all week.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the upper element of it, but once you got down to like the floor of it, it was a little bit much in the grease department for me. But everything else, it was delicious. Yeah.
A bit stodgy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, can you see the comments your end? Are you still watching through to pick up the comments? Or
yeah,
not?
I could see like the TB saying helicopter was awesome and chatting there. Yep.
Okay, cool. Because we've got here. So I thought you were.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, you probably got that from Doug.
Yeah.
Doug's the man. Yeah.
Yeah. Signed copy and typical standard pry it from his cold dead hands type. Well, drunk hands.
Yeah.
Again, I read what I want to read as opposed to what's actually there. So here's one of my generous members who keeps donating members to other people. So, which is, and again, his name's far too long. But I want to get back to, so I've never done an American convention. Mm-hmm. And you obviously did the UK Gaming Expo. We've had the results in this year, 42,000 individual people over 3 days, 73,000, I think it was, total, which now's
crazy.
Yeah. On the rims of one of the largest conventions in the world.
Yep.
How would you feel it compares to your sort of the larger conventions that, your Gen Cons and things like that?
Yep. So I think there's 3 big gaming conventions in the US, and by big I mean like the biggest, that would be Gen Con, PAX Unplugged, and Origins. I would say that excuse me, I would say that it is definitely so it depends on who you talk to, but I think Gen Con is sitting between like 75 and 100,000 people depending on how you count it. Gen Con definitely feels bigger than UK Games Expo. Part of that is that it's a 4-day con. Part of that is that the convention takes over the convention center entirely, plus 5 hotels. So but in general, UK Games Expo feels closest to Gen Con. I think PAX Unplugged is about 25,000 people last year. So it's similar in vibe. It's a 3-day show, so that one is also pretty comparable. It's definitely bigger than Origins. It feels bigger than Origins. It's better than Origins. So I think you're in the top 3 in my book as far as size and just sheer scope. I think Gen Con probably has more going on. Like, Gen Con has mountains and mountains and mountains of seminar panels. It has it covers every little corner and crack and crevice of the hobby of our corner. But the thing that I liked about UK Games Expo is that Gen Con has been so big for so long that it has a different feel. Like, if you go into the exhibitor hall, 80%, 90% of the exhibitor hall is kind of locked in year after year after year. And they have filtered out there's no real retail stores that are on the exhibitor hall in Gen Con. There's no real crafters that are on the exhibitor hall. There's no little custom dice maker shops. There's very, very, very few indie RPGs booths. So Gen Con is dominated by established companies.
Because it's larger, they probably charge larger fees, so they price out.
And they have a wait list.
Yeah,
they have a wait list, so they're filtering out who they want, who they don't want every time. And part of that, means that you're getting to see just about everyone that's who's who in the publisher space is there. The downside of it is that you don't get all the things that are exciting to me at this point, which are finding those indie RPGs that I hadn't seen before, or meeting a creator that has only published, in the mothership space or whatever. There's not even a mothership booth at Gen Con, right? It's very tight. And you also don't get I enjoy digging through the bins at different retail stores, seeing what out of print things or older things might they brought with them. And you don't get that at Gen Con really either, except for maybe one booth. So it's tricky.
Yeah, because when I was going around with Paul, because I missed the Sunday. Sunday was my shopping day, because I've got this massively swollen thing on my thing, and all my forearm was full of liquid and stuff.
Oh wow!
So I only did the Friday and Saturday, because carrying bags around, I didn't realise I'd torn whatever I've done. But there was 2 mead stands. There's nothing more English about a convention than people selling mead.
yeah. There was mead. I think another place had cheese that they were selling. Yeah.
Did you see the tea stand as well?
I saw the tea stand and the cake stand.
I think it was called. They called it Paladin Tea. Because obviously that way you can get into a nerd convention.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Charge 3 times as much for it.
Exactly. Yeah. We have candle shops here, that sort of vibe where they make candles that are scented in the dungeon or
actresses' vaginas.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
We kind of have a candle thing, but it's as you've noticed, it's more food and mead and alcohol orientated here.
That's a win. Yeah.
So this keeps coming to me, is people keep saying I need to get to Gary Con, which is Gary Con the one that's this weekend? No, Gary Con was a few weeks ago, isn't it?
Gary Con is in March usually. Yeah. So Gary Con's great. I like it a lot. Been several times. It's the Mecca show, I would say, because it's in Lake Geneva, where TSR was, where Gary Gygax was. And it's organized by Luke Gygax's son. It's a very amazing show. It's in a resort, so it's I don't know, 3,500, 4,000 people, somewhere in that range. And it's a fantastic show, especially if you want to go and just play a bunch of games, right? That's really what that show is about, is sitting down at a table and playing. And inarguably, some of the best games happen at Gary Con.
Yeah. No, it's one for next year. I'm a bit of a baby. I hate flying. I have this terrible
Sure.
irrational. It's flying, sharks, scorpions.
Yeah. You share those though. So yeah, those along with everybody else. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so I just want to let's get back to gaming then. Well, let's
you get
start
yeah,
on
that's
gaming
great.
then.
I like
So,
talking cons. Yeah.
first gaming experience. What was the sort of
Yeah. So I came late to the party. Did not know a thing about it, and then I went to I'll say it your way. I went to university, and at university I worked in student support services as like a tutor and things like that. And I got approached by one of the professors there, and he said, "Hey, you look like a person who might enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. Would you like to play?"
I've
And
got to stop you there.
yeah.
What was your look then for him to just? I need to know because we all have something in our head. What they look like.
Yeah. So I was 17. I think I was rail thin, so that's changed. I had like shaggy hair, a little bit of a beard, and I think was pretty well known to be like a movie and book junkie.
Okay.
So I think, I had all the right tells, and then like how, the different staff that I had connected with at the college, it turns out were the people who were playing in the D&D game. So
Yeah.
I ended up being brought in. And the first week I watched them play, it was a bunch of professors and then this like 17-year-old kid, and I watched them play and I was like, this is incredible. It's all I wanted to do. And they said, well, next week come back and make a character, and you can dive in. And I proceeded, I believe, to die the next 5 sessions in a row.
That's impressive.
And it was like, oh, this is great. Like, I had a blast. I got to make 5 characters over 5 weeks, which was fun for me, and got to learn that that's the way of the game. I also am grateful for that because I think I came in on what I endearingly call the end, or it's not that it's dead, but it's the end of the grognard era.
Yeah.
That beer and pretzel style gaming, which still happens, but is definitely now superseded by a more intense, more focused type of gaming, a lot of online gaming, where back then it was a lot of like, you literally have the bowl of pretzels in the middle of the table and you all have, beer or whatever other drink you might want, and you are playing a game that's been played for 15 years or 20 years, pretty much off and on throughout, and you are trying to figure out ways of cleverly navigating your GM's series of traps, puzzles, and encounters. I loved all of that, and that's still my favorite way to play D&D, is that like tactical, technical, but we're all not taking it too seriously, and we're not trying to necessarily act around the table. We are friends hanging out, and this is just the way that we're choosing to do that.
Yeah. See, we never even used battle maps when we started playing. It was, you'd have one person would have a piece of paper and they'd be drawing the dungeon for how they thought the games master was going. So all of your angles and what was out, and what we used to like doing right at the end of the adventure is compare our map to the games master's map.
Yeah. We had a Chessex mat, and we had lead minis that came in, that they brought in a fishing tackle box, right? Open it up and they have all the minis. And they were kind enough, actually, when I moved to Kansas City, I was gifted the original Chessex mat that we played on for years and years and years. So that's one of my prized gaming possessions, is the original battle mat for my crew.
Wow. Could you imagine today giving children lead to play with?
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
Exactly.
Try not to suck it,
Yeah, exactly. And there's like 15 total minis in that box. So like, you don't have a wide array of what your character looks like. Like, the idea of having like, this is my mini that I designed on, whatever, Hero Forge or whatever, like that's that was not it. It was like, I'm a fighter. Oh, this guy kind of looks like a fighter. He has a sword. Here you go.
Yeah. Because we just used to say occasionally if we ever did it, because there's certain things. Because if you think back to old games, they didn't even really deal with range either.
Yep. Yeah.
So you'd be in the middle of a combat, and you go, "I'm doing this," and the DM will go, "Well, you're not stood there," and you go, "Well, that's where I think I'm stood."
Yeah,
and then you'd have like this 5-minute mini argument.
Yeah. It's like, or you'd be talking about like, oh, I cast fireball in the room, and it does it. Well, the fireball's volume is a 3x3x3 grid or whatever. So or whatever it was at the time, and it's like, well, but this room is a 4x4. So it's going to actually flood the hallway. So we're going to do that math out. Oh, and it actually came back and engulfed you as well. Like that sort of gotcha gaming was part of it.
Yeah, I miss that. There aren't many games now that do fireball in the way that I think fireball should be done. Because they'll always do lightning. They go, okay, lightning hits everything in a line.
Yeah.
Fireball hits everything it appears on. Why doesn't fireball go down? Because it used to go down the whole corridor and just wipe everything and burn everything. It's not really that flammable anymore. Either,
no. We've kind of gotten rid of the ignite feature.
It's fireballs are too friendly and safe.
Yeah, that's a platform that I can get behind.
Yeah. So from D&D, where did you go from there? Because when you said university, that's your college, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right, yeah. So we did D&D and Pathfinder, and then pretty quickly made the jump. Once it came out, we were an early adopter of 5e. So we did that. Then we had a role where for a couple of years I ran a D20 Star Wars game. So lived in the D20 space for a long time, I guess is the side note.
So that's what's his Star Wars then, that would be, wouldn't it? The D20 Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know that we actually I don't know that we had any of the actual books. I feel like what we did at that time, which was not, I guess, that long ago, 15 years or so, like I don't even know that we had a single book. We just took, Pathfinder probably at the time and just reskinned it and reevaluated it for a Star Wars game. But yeah, I mean, now, of course, I would have just ran it all off the books. But I think at that time, I just wasn't either aware that there was a full Star Wars game or didn't have the funds to make it happen. So did that. I don't know. I think probably the thing that came after that was Cyberpunk Red, or Cyberpunk in general. Though I'll say that once you hit that point, it very much was the floodgates opened, and I started playing a bunch of games all at once. So it gets a bit foggy once we hit that stage of what came first exactly.
Yeah, Cyberpunk 2020 hasn't aged well, has it?
No, not really.
I remember playing that early days, and it felt like everything in that book was a possibility.
Yeah.
And there isn't much of it's come true.
No, it's a bit of a disappointment at this point.
Yeah. But then we had that with Back to the Future, where are all the flying skateboards?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
And I think we're nearly 10 years past back. Wasn't it 2016 Back to the Future? It's something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. That's the right range. Yeah.
That came and went. So you went from playing games. Was that then the migration over to creating, or?
Yes. So one of the things that I'll always appreciate about that initial group of professors was that we ended up doing a rotation GM. So you would GM for approximately 4 sessions, and then until an adventure, do a thing, and then it would rotate to the next person and they would do it. And so what that meant is that pretty early on I got a taste of GMing. And also pretty early on, they were very much encouraging to like, oh, you should homebrew. You should, noodle around and think, design new monsters, design new whatever. And very much it was not a group that wanted, everything needs to come out of a core book. So what that meant is that I was noodling in the space for a while. And then I stumbled onto Kickstarter. And I don't know exact. I'm gonna guess that one of them put me onto it, but it became an obsession. It's still an obsession. I love Kickstarter. I love backing projects. I'm a that's a daily habit of mine, I think, at this point. And once you've backed enough projects, you're like, I'd like to try my hand at it. So my first book it's called Oceanic Depths. Came out right after Saltmarsh for 5e. Saltmarsh, I was hoping was going to be like that big, like nautical adventure where you're sailing across open seas and you're kind of, have that vibe, and you're diving down into oceans and exploring. And really, it's an island hopper. And so Oceanic was me saying, oh, well, I want to make the book that I thought I was going to get. So I partnered up with my brother-in-law and a couple other friends. We wrote a 120-page supplement that had, new subclasses, new spells that were all water-based. It had a big old bestiary full of aquatic-based creatures, and then it had a bunch of like boss monsters in their lairs, which were kind of like frameworks for adventures in the back. And it did pretty well. I mean, for the time and for as ignorant as we were, it did like $6,000, I think, on Kickstarter. And that blew us away and kind of set in my mind that this is something that you can make money on. And it was not long after that I quit my job for various reasons and dove into doing design and layout and Kickstarter consulting and things of that nature full time.
Yeah. Any regrets?
No, sure. No, let's go with no. It's definitely not been a bundle of roses the whole time.
But no, self-employed is that though, isn't it? You have
exactly.
good days and bad years. How are you now? Because I've been self-employed now for about 25, 26 years, and I employ. We have quite a lot of self-employed advisors and consultants that work with us, and some people can really cope with it, and others don't. And you can always tell when they're ringing me at 3:00 in the afternoon when I emailed them the day before. I'm like, well, you've just got up or you've been watching TV all day. This clearly isn't going to work out. But the one thing that I found hardest, and I can now do, is when you've got nothing to do you now manage to find that you can relax? Or do you still get into that panic, I've got to go and drive to go and fill that day?
I think it's probably more of the second one. I like it helps that I like what I do for work. So but that's also a hindrance because it means that it's very easy to have a 12-hour work day, and to look up and be like, oh, I've been in my office from 8:30 this morning to 8:30 at night, and oh, I missed 2 dinners or 2 meals, and my wife had to wrangle the kids that whole time. So it definitely is a challenge, both working from home and being self-employed for a large bulk of this. It's a challenge to balance everything. So.
Yeah. Do you not enjoy the looks that you get though if you ever do the school run? I used to love it that everyone would look at me like I was unemployed. All the moms judge you like, he doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. We went to my daughter's field day the other day, which is kind of like a day where they do all sorts of outdoor activities. And it was me, my wife, all the moms, and then the grandparents. And it's like, I'm the only male under the age of 60 that's here.
So I went to one of those. We have them over here. They're called tumble tots things. So you take your toddler, and it's like a preschool club.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
I was the only man there. I went once because I had I was very self-conscious. That I was the man with the daughter. And I wasn't married to her mom at the time because for reasons. So I just looked like this single bum dad because I work from home. I live in a tracksuit. It wasn't the most pleasurable of experiences.
I feel that.
So obviously I just want to go through a few books. Well, where I kind of first discovered you. So, and I didn't realize after I'd backed one of your books that you were the same Zac from World of Game Design. And we spoke about this briefly, that, off camera, that you basically taught me how to play the One Ring.
Oh, good.
Which was your old YouTube channel. But your beard was shorter then. So,
my beard was shorter. Yeah. I'll forgive you for
yeah. But on the Facebook, on the YouTube page, sorry, on the Kickstarter page, it doesn't have your photo, so it was only
yeah.
It's only the one I did the review, and the book that I'm talking about now is Dark Visions, which was where, and you did it with Jeffrey Jones, didn't you?
Yep.
So I recorded one of my videos for sort of just talking about the Kickstarter, sent it to you. You shared it on the page, which was amazing. And then you did an interview with him, and I was like, "Who's that man? I know that man."
Yeah. There was a time where I did like with World of Game Design, I did like a bunch of YouTube how to play videos for different RPGs. I think I did somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 different systems, like kind of walkthrough and videos. If you haven't watched them, they're still on YouTube. They're like somewhere between 12 and 20 minutes long, typically, and kind of give you the basics of how to run them in hopefully a very like concise, focused way, to where you're confident diving in. They're not reviews, and they're also not playthroughs. They are, here's what you need to know to get started.
Yeah. So you can talk about how to play a whole game. I can't review a book in less than about 25 minutes.
It's painful.
I can't not talk about every page. I mean, when I first started, one of my mates was like, "Do you have to talk about every page?" I was going, "I probably don't, but my brain tells me that if I skip over a page, someone might ask me why I haven't included that page."
Yeah. It's hard. It was really like all of those videos were by necessity scripted, because I found that if I went off script, I would ramble about a thing about the game that I really liked but had no bearing on learning the game. And so it was like, you know what, just read from the teleprompter. just go. And you're really not there to entertain anyways in that type of video. You're there to educate. And so it was about, it's better for me to read off a script and it to be very obvious that I'm reading off a script, as long as I'm only conveying the information that needs to be conveyed. So
yeah. See, that nearly killed my channel when I first started, because I was trying to script everything. And what I can't do is I can't write a script for obvious reasons, and I can't read off a script again for obvious reasons. So it was trying to find a style that works for me. And interviews and just talking about a book, like you say, just rambling, going through pages, it's working. So I enjoy it, which I think that's the most important thing.
That's absolutely it.
So I want to go through then Dark Visions, because is this your first Shadowdark writing?
Yep, exactly right.
Okay, so and this is a great little book. I don't mean little book as in that, but I never know what's a book and what's a zine. I called something a zine the other day, and I got told off on Facebook about it.
That should never happen.
So but then because I'm one of those people, and then Googling exactly what it means. I called something with a hardback a zine, and they were like, "Well, it's not a zine."
Yeah,
they can be. I can. I checked the internet. And
they can f off at that. That's
But again, this is going to make me sound like an idiot. I discovered that zine was short for magazine.
Yeah,
didn't have a clue. Did not have a clue.
It's definitely, which is funny because the people will call it a zine a lot, and I'm like, do you call it a magazine then? Like it's I enjoy it, but you can call it whatever you want, and it can be whatever you want. It doesn't bother me at all. I consider Dark Visions in the zine category, but certainly it's also a book at this point. Like, and it is hardcover and all that. But I feel like it's in the zine community more than it's in the the tome community for sure.
Yeah. So this is a book that's pretty much dedicated to cults. And it's. So here we are. So there's your name. Got going. You got 3 classes. So how are you finding because you've written for other games, compared to Shadowdark. So I've spoken to other game designers, and they find Shadowdark nice and easy to write for.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. I think that it's brief. It has brevity in it, but it's not to the level of brevity that some other games are. So that's actually it's easier to write for that way. Classes are super easy, and people like classes. So as long as you got a good idea, good hook, like I feel like anybody can make a cool class, and it's pretty easy to balance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a blast writing it. We're doing another. We're going to talk about it in a bit, but we're doing another shadow book now, and I'm working on a third one. So
Yeah. We will cover your latest Kickstarter, which is absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait for that. And you've nicely sent me quite a preview, so we will have that coming up later.
Yeah.
But you've included the titles and stuff, which I didn't realize until I really started playing Shadowdark, just how important titles and backgrounds actually are.
It can be,
because you sort of get. Well, you have two styles of Games Master, don't you? One that plays Shadowdark as dungeons only, but you're going to be out and you need to talk to people, so that's where your backgrounds come in. But you created a whole new load of gods as well, which was great. New magic spells, everyone always loves with mishaps. But what I really like as well is the way that you put the cults together. It took me a second, because if I've got a fault over any Shadowdark book, it's probably a fault I've got through everything, is because I'm quite a literal person, sometimes I need it explained exactly what this table's for. And Shadowdark doesn't do that. We kind of just have to work it through sometimes.
Yeah.
And what I like is obviously you've got all the different gods, and then you've got the different types of cults, and then different cult leaders and different things in there, and all their little motivations and everything. And I think this is why I love Shadowdark so much, other than the system and how accessible it is. But you can just put a little paragraph in about this ash cult here, and you've got all you need from it. And it doesn't need a lot of stats. It doesn't need a lot of explanation to go and create stuff. And then you can merge all of these in with different gods.
Yeah.
And then just if that's not enough, and I'm not going to spoil it, here you go, have an adventure at the end.
Yeah. Two adventures. Yeah.
It's two, and then you've got the main one in the
third,
the extra book.
Exactly right. Yeah.
But one thing I really do like about these dungeon adventures, and you don't get it that often, is you make a good use of water in it.
Yeah.
Because water in a dungeon is incredibly sinister.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't know what's underneath it.
Yeah, it was really fun. I was kind of perusing different map options and ideas, and I was like, oh, flooded dungeon, that could be really fun. Like, and it's gross, right? It's like brackish, like stagnant, dirty death water in a dungeon is disgusting, and it hides things, like you say. So, and it, you can drain it, or you can raise the level of the water, and like all sorts of different aspects. So yeah, it's really fun to play with.
Yeah, and you also, I think it's quite easy to explain, and people automatically know what gross, dirty, still, like say, brackish water is. But also the good thing you do, and there are a few other people do this, but not enough, is like here, you actually put the rooms on the facing pages. So we've got the giant map, and then as you go through the book, you've got the thing. So you're not doing that holding 3 pages open to look back at the pages, which is so infuriating as a games master. Because especially if you're running it on VD, I'll have multiple copies of the same PDF up.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the reason that ended up happening for this book. So I was working with Jeff, and we said, like, we really wanted this book to be of a certain size, a certain length. And I wrote it not knowing, like when you're writing, you don't know exactly how many pages, but I had a pretty good idea. And I handed it off to Jeff, and he kind of came back, and he's like, we need a few, we need to find answers for like expanding this out a bit. And so we were kind of talking about like what would make this book better, like what does it need. And as we were like looking through it, I think it was Jeff said, like, you know what would help us with the page count and also be helpful for the GM is if we broke apart these maps into different spaces. Obviously, we're not the first ones to do it by a long shot. There's a lot of people that do it, but it was a good idea for him to add it in because it was helpful and it got us closer to where we wanted to be with the page count. So
yeah. And then the second one, you've got a Tower above and Dungeon below.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
up and down, which is good. And then included in the same Kickstarter, we had the Tower of Six, which, and both of these are still available, aren't they? You can order, I think you can order them direct from Jeff's website, and they're probably on DriveThruRPG.
Yeah, PDFs on DriveThru, and then the physicals and the PDFs you can pick up through Jeff's at rpgramblings.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Tower of Six, which is basically, it's the conclusion to the first two adventures, isn't it?
Yeah, all three adventures can be ran on their own. You don't have to run them as a series. But they do. There is a rough through line that goes through them. And Tower of Six is this mage's tower that was largely abandoned decades ago and has been taken over by this cult. The mage's tower was kind of a bastion that kept a entity kind of locked and at bay underneath. And since the mages have all died off or gone off for the most part, now the cult is free to step in and attempt to free this this patron of theirs from the catacombs, the crypts underneath.
Yeah, and what I like when I especially when I first read it, I've done reviews of both of these, so they are on my channel. Is when I looked at this, you kind of go, oh yeah, it's a nice tower one. Again, similar to Adventure 2. We got up, we'll have a bit of an investigation, and then there's a little bit down, and then you find the way down, and then suddenly like boom, this giant complex under. And there is some, and I'm not going to spoil it, so I'm not going to go any further because there's some really good and interesting stuff for people to find in there. But the sort of twisty creatures that people find towards the end, is I think players they'll start relaxing, thinking they've done something, and then suddenly bam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the tower is not that important in this adventure. You can find some cool things and there's some interesting notes, but really the meat and potatoes of this is down in the dungeon.
Yeah. And in all three of the books, you've sort of set it up to use a cult. But then you've put rules in so if people want to create their own cults, and you've given 2 other cults as well. Was it 3? It was 2, isn't it? That they can play alongside.
Yeah, like alternatives. If you're like, if you don't like the idea of using a darkness cult, then here's one for nightmares and here's one for the ash or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of ash, that's a really good segue into another book. So
sure.
You nicely sent me a couple of books yesterday. One is fantastic and one is fantasticer.
Oh, okay, good. I'm curious to know which one is which. Yeah.
So both of which I've recorded reviews from today. I actually did them. Annoyingly, the reviews might not make sense because I talked about the review coming up and the interview with you coming up. Now we've decided to do this live. I might have to do a little bit of an edit now. But yeah, so I'm going to start with the excellent one. Which is I can never remember how to share screen quite as quickly as I do on other things on here. Which is this.
Yeah.
So it took me a while. So this is it Repentant?
Yeah, the Repentant. Yep.
Expanded. So I am assuming there was an original book. At some stage, then you've just expanded it out. So both of these are for Pirate Borg, which is the best of all the Borg books available currently. I say that because Black Powder and Brimstone is rising, and I picked up Slay Borg, and I'm a massive fan of Slay. So I'm not saying it's going to replace Pirate Borg.
Sure, yeah.
But there's if anything's going to, it's the one that's pretty much Warhammer Fantasy. But that needs a little bit more to expand on. But I just love what Limithron has done with Pirate Borg. Because again, I covered this in the review, and when I talk about it, this is a game. This is the book I think everyone should own, whether or not you want to play or are interested in Borg or not. because the amount of information that's in there to run a pirate game.
Exactly.
Creating maps, creating treasure, creating ships, monsters. And you could run it as a straight pirate game very easily without having to put the Cthulhu-esque sort of monster and twist on the world, and that wonderful ash mechanic, which is great. Which is this.
Yeah.
it I couldn't quite work it out at first read through, because one of the issues I have is reading books that are weird.
Yeah, and it's weird.
with changing fonts and stuff like that. So it took me a couple of reads. Good news is it's only 12 pages, so it didn't take me long.
Yeah.
But this is actually, of the two, this is the one with the best artwork. And I think it's just the style that you've got here. Like, because it's a bit more cartoony on the demons.
Yeah.
But in essence, this is a ship with a bunch of undead people that go around to a port. They gather loads of alive people, throw them in the bottom of the ship, and then throw them through this ash-creating blender to then go and sell the ash, or use the ash themselves to then go and get more people to cycle the money. That's...
Yeah, it's a business enterprise. Yeah. That goes back to, they're self-employed. And
it dawned on me as I was reading it, and I talk about this in the review, which is probably going to be a massive spoiler now, that it's going to make players, it's going to really change any campaign.
Yeah.
Because it's a one-shot adventure that the players will either go, do you know, we're good guys, let's sink this.
Yeah. Not gonna
happen. You're right. That's exactly where I think people are going to go. That temptation when they suddenly realise that they can turn this ship into thousands upon millions of pounds.
Yeah.
I think it's absolute bloody genius, this one.
Yeah, it's super fun. Yeah, I have so much fun. I've ran this quite a bit, obviously, and like it's my favorite corner of the Dark Caribbean, where Pirate Borg is. Like the ash black market and the demons that are encroaching into the space, like under the leadership of the Dark One. Like I love where all of that coincides, and you have this, again, I guess it's a thing, but like this disgusting corner, where they're like exactly what you said, they're picking up people from ports and probably from other ships that they captured and things of that nature, and they're throwing them into the hold. Well, they're still people, so they've got to find a way to turn them into the undead, and that comes via their contract with these demons that they've brought on board, who torture, kill, and harvest the soul of these captives, and then resurrect the bodies into these brimstone zombies that can then be turned into ash, and it's just a great little conveyor belt of opportunity.
And a perfect twist on that ghost ship, because you start looking, okay, it's going to be a ghost ship adventure.
Yeah.
Now, how can you take a standard common adventure trope and make it 10 times better? Turn it into a business and ask the players, do you want to become millionaires, or do you want to lose your big opportunity? But you can be a millionaire. However,
there's a contract that's involved.
Yeah. You're kind of giving up your soul.
Exactly.
And as I was going through, I know one of my players will definitely not sink this ship.
Yeah.
But, that's the sort of player that he's like, yeah, I can see the worth in this. I can see, and they were like, I can buy a castle, I can buy a port. I can retire from that. And then you sent me the one which actually, this sounds really sycophantic, but this utterly blew me away, this one. Because the first one, I think if I was going to run a one shot for Pirate Borg, I'm now doing that pirate ship every single time for everyone. It looks, it's probably 2 to 3 hours at the most, I'd imagine. Is it that the sort of time frames when you're running it?
Yeah. That'd be fair. Yeah. Depends on how long, because like it's really about like engage. Like when I run it, you don't fight. Like typically, like I set up the players to where they're either like they're marooned or they're in some sort of distress somewhere or another. So the Repentant comes along and is recruiting because they're low on crew. And so what you have is not a fight from the start. You have this great opportunity to chat with the NPC pirates and get to know them and get a whole like elevator pitch for their enterprise and all that. And then at the end, once you meet the devils, you have to decide whether or not you're going to buy in and be part of the crew, which is great. And then there may not even be a fight. There's different ways that you can do that. Or there can be a fight where you say, I'm in for this ship. I'm not in for selling my soul. And so you fight demons. But there's a million ways that it can end. It's shifted a lot. But yeah, it's about 3 hours depending on how much the players engage with the NPCs versus how quickly do they just decide we're going to kill everything and take it over.
Or they die.
Or they die. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if that's not good enough, you threw a couple of extra demons in that aren't on the ship that you can just make it worse. Or the way I kind of thought, are these people that they will go and meet? Oh, you also had the people they can go and sell the ash to, which I thought was a stroke of genius.
Those are part of the expanded nature of this adventure.
Yeah. And then we had this, which is because the one thing I've never really done with Pirate Borg is had a big extended sort of ship-to-ship combat. You know, I think most people would probably have had a couple of combats, but not a combat with another. We'll see when we get there if that makes sense. But this is slightly more than a combat, and I love the archangel sort of look to this.
Sure.
Angelic, that's the word I'm looking for. And you sort of go, oh, it's Crown of Thorns type thing. Then you go, no, it's not. It's a wheel of a ship.
Yeah.
Really, really clever the way that's done. Typical use of the inside book with some random tables here. But this, in essence, is a 4-part adventure, which you actually got me to swear on my channel. I don't swear on my channel because I don't know how YouTube cuts in. But I had to swear. So we'll see what it does. But what I like about it, it's a linear adventure. So something happens. Well, basically, the players are at a governor's. Well, you can do it wherever you want. You've got the hooks here. Talks about it's on the previous page. Talks about you can roll it into when the players are carousing or wherever it may be. But long story short, they get invited to a governor's party. They meet a lady, either a Kitty, Miss Colette, or Lady Catalina. And the reason why we've got 3 different names, I'll just explain here, is because what you've done from a replayability or for fitting it into an existing campaign, this is what my thoughts are. You've allowed different characters. So let's say they're already aligned with the English. What you don't want to do is lose that affiliation with the English. So what you've done is created an adventure where the whole adventure can be about being against the French or the Spanish. But more importantly, you've given all the captains and the ships, and then later on with the twist, completely different stats and abilities as well. Yeah. So it's not going to be boring from a games master's point of view, because sometimes when we run adventures multiple times, we're a little bit, okay, well, I know this is one of the best one-shots we can do. You want to bring people in, you want them to enjoy it, and then you go, oh, here we go again.
Yeah. Every piece of the adventure has options to be swapped out for other things while still keeping the story moving. So yeah, you got, like you say, three different options for the lady. You got 3 different options for the captains, for the ships, for the twist. But then also, like we'll talk about a storm here in a minute. If you don't want to do that storm, there's options for not doing this, doing something different instead of the storm that still fits the beat that's necessary for the adventure, but allows you to really walk a different line.
Yeah. Oh, and you got 4 different ladies as well. If you want.
Alternative. Yeah, you're not just the 3 factions, Spanish, French, and British, but then also like, hey, if you want to go very different, here's some other options.
Yeah. So we've then got so this is part 2. So basically, the lady stows away on the ship. We probably should have said there's spoilers here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So we then come into the chase part of the adventure, which again, you give the players the option. Do you try and head into the storm, take flight, or turn and fight? I I just know my party's going to try the third option and get sunk, and then that's probably the end of the adventure.
It's going to be absolutely brutal if you try to fight these guys. Unless you have a cool ship. I mean, maybe you're not playing this as a starter adventure and you're playing it after full session. Yeah.
So, and the storm's going to move, as you say. You can adapt and change the storm into different things. So Davy Jones himself, another fleet coming the other way, or some fog. Then they get away, or they're dead, and then we don't get to part 3.
Yeah. Close
rival captain, backstory. This is your Lando Calrissian turning up. Is the way I read it.
Yeah.
You know, you sort of throw it out to the games, and you go. You know, you tell one of the players that they know him already, but you know, shouldn't be trusted, type thing. And then, lo and behold, part 4, all of the previous fleets come back as all these undead, and again, depending on whether English, French, or Spanish, whether it's a skeleton, ghost, sea wraith, different ships as well. Really good. And I was like, this is really good. Like this. And then I turned over, obviously, and then we get what happens with the lady at the end. Does she turn into a sea hag or just try to marry someone?
Yeah.
And then I was like, hold on. We've then got another adventure, which we can fit in between part 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Which is a little mini game. It's a fishing mini game to keep your crew alive from them not slitting your throat and throwing you overboard.
Yeah,
technically.
Yeah, exactly. That's written by the guy that I worked with on this one, Gregory Harris. He gave to me. He's like, I had this idea for this like optional thing called Becalmed, like it when there's no wind and you're just dead in the water. And I'm like, oh yeah, we got to put that in.
Yeah. No, it's good because it goes from manic storm, dramatic battle, fleeing to the water's dead, and you know, not over the years, thousands of sailors died from the fact the ship didn't go anywhere. And then you're like, okay, well, why don't we just throw in 3 random encounters and areas to just be on an island wherever they meet, so you've got more sort of flesh to the bone on any other adventures you're running.
And these were the kernel, the nugget that sprung into the next Shadowdark book that we're doing right now, Devoured Labyrinth. But it was working on these and really enjoying them and thinking about how they should work for Pirate Borg that really turned me into these are really fun. And I may end up doing a Pirate Borg version of them too, but Pirate Borg doesn't need a lot of dungeons, and I kind of just want to do a bunch of one-page dungeons. So but anyhow, I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, these were a super fun, and I absolutely am super proud of how those turned out.
Okay, so before we get onto Kickstarter, and we'll spend a bit of time in that. Up until this point, what's been your favorite book that you've written? Or contributed on, because
I'll say, like, I'm very, very proud of my work and my contribution to the new Marvel Multiverse starter set that just came out. Like, I didn't know that the adventure that I was writing for them was going to turn into the starter set, and definitely there were a lot of other people that it's a Marvel product, so it passed through several hands. So by no means am I claiming that I wrote everything that's in there, but I'm really, really jazzed because one of my favorite things in the world is a good starter set. So I would say that one's probably high on my list. Probably the one that I'm most proud of, though, at the moment, and it hasn't released fully yet. And I'm probably going to kick myself after I say this, but I'm really proud of contributing heavily to Zweihander Reforged edition. Zweihander is one of my favorite RPGs. It's super cool. It's very grimdark, low fantasy or low magic fantasy. Percentile based role playing, and Reforged edition is a big like streamlining of that massive a previous edition of Zweihander, and really everyone that's come before it, which has been these oversized tomes, and we streamlined it down to a cleaner rule set, and I think it's a home run of a book in my opinion. So
well, I was going to bring that up later, so let's do that now. So I'm a massive Warhammer Fantasy role-playing fan. So this was born out of
second
Warhammer
edition.
being out of license. Well, because second edition became third edition, and third edition doesn't exist.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's the consensus. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like fourth edition for D&D, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paizo, you know, managed to get a career out of it, and Zweihander is the same, from, you know, taking a really good book and then thinking you can turn it into Warcraft.
Yeah. Exactly.
But okay, so sell me on it. So what would I gain differently?
Well, I'll be a little bit hesitant, because even though I've played Warhammer Fantasy, it is not a game that I have a healthy understanding of to where I could do a solid compare contrast. But what I would say is that if you like second edition, what you're going to get with Reforged is kind of bringing it forward into the modern era with a few rules tweaks and changes that streamline play, make it a little bit smoother at the table, get rid of a little bit of the futzy bits. Even just like from the previous Zweihander to this one, as an example, we've ripped out a lot of the there's still plenty of actions that you can do in combat, right, where you spend your action points to do things. But what we saw was that a lot of these choice actions are really duplicating each other by and large. And if you trust your GM, you can actually just condense several different actions into a singular action and get the same. It still costs the same and still all that. It just is less words on the page, and it allows the GMs to interpret that action a little bit more to their liking. Because one of the hard things, I mean, not hard, but one of the things that comes up is what happens when your players want to do something that isn't a part of the described actions that cost action points? Well, then you as the GM have to decide how many points does it cost, and maybe you disagree with your player, and then the player says, well, I don't want to do that if it costs 2 action points instead of 1 or whatever. So you know, stuff like that, where we're saying like, hey, let's allow for a little bit more interpretation here, and that'll allow us to streamline it, and it's worked out very well. Stat blocks got cleaned up a lot. I think that's the other big thing. So they're not as verbose.
So what you're basically saying is I should go and buy it, because I have no. Because I played first edition, played second edition, I've played considerably more fourth edition. But we've got. Oh, I didn't realize a Dampier was in here as because I've always done the snobby. Wow, this isn't Warhammer. But you kind of, there's only so many versions of the same game with the same roles that you can have. But I do appreciate that Warhammer is an incredibly clunky game, and if it wasn't for playing it on a VTT, I don't think I could play it because of one of the big things that hopefully Zweihander doesn't get is you get all the degrees of success on Warhammer, which is nice in some ways, because I love the fact that you can fail your hit roll, and then if they fail their dodge roll worse, you can still hit them, which is a great thing in the game.
Yeah, we ripped out parrying and dodging completely, which I was sad to see go. Honestly, like, it was one of the things that got removed against Zach's will. But it was the right decision, because it streamlines the game, and that was the whole focus of Zweihander Reforged, was streamline, make combat faster, make knowing the result of your roll faster. And it definitely works very, very well. And if you want parrying and dodging, you can just slide them back in pretty easy. But yeah, exactly what you just described, where you're comparing like, oh, I'm dodging, but my success in dodging is higher than your success, and oh well, I got it becomes this conversation, this meta conversation that you need to have after every roll to determine what the actual outcome is, as opposed to just being able to say, right, I hit you, I deal damage. Does it bypass your damage threshold? Yes. Okay. We knock you down a peg, right? Like, it is very slow, very clunky. But I think because most people that I play it with have been playing it for a long time, you're fully aware that combat is always the last option.
when it comes to it's not like other fantasy games where you go, oh, there's a man arguing over there. Well, we're going to beat him up then. You can quite quickly die in Warhammer just from a random encounter.
I love that part of it. That's why, I mean, if I'm going to play a fantasy game, it's going to be Zweihander if I have my druthers. Because I love that, like, I think Daniel describes it as like, you might be a knight on a horse in plate mail with a Zweihander. And if you get surrounded by peasants, they can, in a couple of rounds, drag you off your horse and shiv you to death. Like, there's never a point where you are above dying. It could happen in the midst of anything, and that to me is very cool.
So looking at it, we can pick it up, Drive-Thru-RPG PDF. It looks like here on the Kickstarter page that you're probably taking late pledges, I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's a pre-order out for it right now. And I think it's at the, I mean, I'm not with World of Game Design at this point or with anybody tied to any of this. So I'll say that if you back this or if you buy this, no money comes to me, which is perfectly fine. I don't need any of it, or don't want any of it. But yes, there's a pre-order where you can get the book, and the book is so sexy, especially like the fancy one there. It's like there's a regular edition, and then there's this like black on gold edition with gilded pages. That's like incredible. But yeah, you can pre-order it, and then it'll obviously be available later this year, just in retail completely.
Yeah, and you know what? You've sold me. But I now don't know whether I wait to get it on Drive-Thru-RPG now, or because I'm not. The problem is, we've all become this person that doesn't wait for stuff anymore.
Yeah,
it's just to get sidetracked. The latest series of Clarkson Farm is on Amazon. I assume you watch Clarkson Farm in America.
We do not watch Clarkson's Farm in America, but I know what it is. Yes, I know what it is. Yes.
Okay, so it's done that. Disney does very similar things now. Is because I'm used to something comes out on Netflix. I want all 8 episodes or all 20 episodes. I want it dumped now, and then they keep doing them. We'll have 4 weeks here, a week in, a week here. So I don't want to wait for Zweihander. But I suppose maybe if they're releasing the PDF, if I back it.
I'll tell you,
on there, but
yeah. Or you hit me up after this, and I'll get you a PDF, because I believe you're going to get the book later. So I'll ease you with the PDF right now.
Yeah. Then I can do a review of it, and then I can do a review comparing. Oh yeah, Jonathan, good to see you. Do a review and comparison between.
That's right. That would be great. That would be so. I would love to see what you think as someone who plays a lot of Warhammer.
Can you imagine though if my conclusion is that I'm going to get rid of Warhammer and never play it again?
Yeah, that would be delicious. But equally delicious is if I send you the PDF and we spend all this time talking about it, and then you do a review and you're like, it's kind of rubbish. I don't really, like, it's not my favorite thing that Zach's done by a mile. Like that I would be really tickled if that was
I can't believe you've written this. You should be ashamed.
Yeah.
I hope your children never speak to you.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So I've got this horrible thing now in my head, because I say every year. I've been doing this just over a year. But I did one of my very first videos I ever did was my top 10 videos. And Warhammer is like number 1. When I redid it, it would say Werewolf was the first year, because Werewolf the Apocalypse is an amazing game. But that's really dropped because I can't ever get it. Can't get it to the table.
Yeah.
Warhammer went from 2 to 1, I think. And I think Shadowdark is just going to, and I don't want it to come from nowhere and just destroy it. But the problem with Shadowdark is it's so bloody good.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I didn't back the original Kickstarter because if something's popular, I'm naturally this isn't going to be good. So I deliberately avoided it, and then I did a review of it, and I was like, this is bloody amazing. Why haven't I played this before? Then I started playing it, and now I don't really want to play anything else.
Yeah. I didn't back the Kickstarter either. I think part of it was I felt like I was on the outside looking in on it. Like, sometimes when they come out of nowhere like that, it's like, why is this popular? I don't understand. Oh, she's got a community. Oh, I'm not in that community. Oh, this is probably not for me. And then, I learned that I was wrong. But yeah.
So just got a comment here from Jonathan. Zweihander has a few extra systems that Warhammer Fantasy doesn't. So I'm looking forward to finding out. I really am.
Yeah, I'm guessing those are like the malignancy and corruption systems, if I was gonna bet. But I'm not well versed enough in Warhammer Fantasy to speak confident.
Yeah, but I think we've naturally segued into the Shadowdark community with you writing and your utterly amazing Kickstarter that you've totally spoilt me with by sending me a preview of it. So I want to go through that, and I'm sure you're not going to say no.
Nope.
Let's. You think I'd be proficient in this screen sharing malarkey by now?
But it's just it's high stakes, right? Every time.
Yeah. So this is a game between you, lead designer Andrew, and I'm not getting into the rest of it. I did that on the Kickstarter thing, and I think I managed to edit it out.
It's way easier to pronounce than it sounds. It's Bashinsky.
Oh, is that it?
It's Bashinsky. Yeah.
It's because it's got the Y and the I at the end.
Yeah.
That really blew me, and I was like, okay, because that looks like that should be ski. Because
Bashinsky. You got it.
Eastern European.
It is Eastern European. Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah. So, but this is actually, I should probably do the Kickstarter page first before we get into the book. That would make slightly more sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And while you're doing that, I'll tell people as a tease that I sent Adrian the full-ish preview of the book, not the one that you see on the Kickstarter, but the one that is like 70% of the book laid out, and not fully finished, but we're gonna get glimpses of a lot of things that aren't on the Kickstarter.
Ooh, yeah, that's good, because I've had a skim through, but I haven't fully looked at it yet. Yeah. I like to sort of save these things for me, if that makes sense, doing it.
Yeah.
But the initial thing so we've got 40 different dungeons, 40 plus different dungeons, all over 1 and 2 pages, including gauntlets. But snake people, I'm assuming that's Viperians, but I'm not sure. Viperians?
Viperians is what we do. Yep.
Yeah, cool. Drow and undead. So, and then you've got it's a book as well as a deck of crawl cards.
Yep. Crawler cards are. It's kind of like I had 2 Shadowdark projects going on at the same time. I was like, maybe they're just one project, and so we kind of like flavored the cards to visually and to some extent mechanically be tied in with Devoured Labyrinth, though they very much are standalone items.
Yeah. Okay. So how many gauntlets is there? Is there just going to be one gauntlet?
There's only one. It's 6 pages as well. It's kind of a specialty. It's how you get into the Devoured Labyrinth, which is this space, this cavity. If you wanted to run it as a campaign, how you get into it is this space called the Teeth. These two hills there's this cavity that's been found between them, and you can push through that cavity and get into the Devoured Labyrinth. So you have this 6-page kind of crazy dungeon, which I'll say real quick, I'm really, really, really proud of. Not just that it's 6 pages, 26 rooms, and I think super fun, but also because it's level 0, I wanted to put my own stamp on what does a level 0 gauntlet do, and so there are places and pieces and puzzles in this space for you to earn early a class. Ooh. Like a level 1 class. So it's the idea of like, how does a level 0 character become a thief or a fighter or a wizard? And so the answer is, well, sometimes you find an artifact, or if you're a wizard, maybe you find your first wand, and you interacting with that and successfully casting a spell allows you to earn a level. Or maybe successfully stealing from I'll say like a wyvern's nest or something like that, is you getting the opportunity to level up to a thief early. So I'm really excited about the gauntlet because it's got some funky ideas in it.
Yeah. So here's the cut. This is some of the cards that are coming along with it. It's an example, isn't it?
Crawler card. Yep. Crawler cards are front and back. you have a pre-gen character. There's level 0 cards in there, and there's level 1s, and then that bottom half of the card is actually a tearaway pad that you can write on, so that as you play that pre-gen for a while, you can add your gear, adjust your hit points, add XP, things of that nature.
Cool. And then this is my video, which people are going to think is a bit weird because it's Old Boys New Toys, which is but the other. I think I'm going to kill this channel off, to be honest. And I was thinking about it the other day because any role playing stuff I put on that channel doesn't really take.
Mm-hmm.
But I was conscious that I didn't want to release more than one video a day on this channel. Then I've gone, do you know what? If I'm recording it, I might as well put it on here. And if I end up with 2 or 3 videos a day on the channel, it's just more stuff, isn't it?
More stuff. Yeah.
More stuff. But so yeah, we've got a couple more videos. So basic pledge level. So $60 for the book and card. It's hardback as well, isn't it? Come in.
Yep.
And is it print on demand, or are you printing it and then
no, print and ship? Yep.
Print and ship. Okay. And then we got $38 for just the book itself. And then you get a softback cover for if you're too tight to spend $8.
And if you need the print and ship because shipping from the US can be expensive, soft cover will be shipping from all over the world.
So that's your print and demand. That's technically probably what I'll end up with. Because I keep everything I basically back at PDF, and then I wait to find out what I can afford to go through, because I've got a silly amount on. There's been about, it feels like 20 Kickstarters decent that have arrived this week alone.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's brutal.
Do you think we're in probably the best time to be a role player? Because I do, because the amount of choice that we've got and good choice, even let's take Daggerheart, for example. I didn't like Daggerheart. I've had a little bit of hate in some of the comments. Not in a nasty way. No one's been nasty about it, and disagreement. And what I come back to and what we talk about though with people is but it's great because it will bring new people in, like 5th edition. Just because I don't like it, doesn't mean that you're not going to get more people in that are going to want to play different things.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you want everything here, so including Dark Visions and the Tower of Six, which we showed earlier, that's where I think everyone should be if you haven't got Dark Visions and the Dark Tower. And then you've got some add-ons and the cards as well. It looks like a little slot. What's this little slot here in the cards?
Yeah, that's where the character sheets will be. So
okay,
this
equipment sheets. Pad
yep.
here. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, then that's covering the books that we've already covered. But I think people really want to just see the book, don't they?
Sure. Yeah.
They're like, we will put the link for the Kickstarter in the description of this video anyway. So now let's have a look at the book. What have I done here now? That one. So it's in that weird, the way that you do the pages. As I guess this is how books look before they're published.
Yeah, they spread. Yeah,
spread. That's it. Yeah, because people. I've been sent a few books recently that have been spread, and it looks weird on the page.
Yeah. It's
as
you're not expecting it for sure. Yeah.
But this is quite the additional writing for the additional dungeons. This is quite a who's who list of other contributors, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's a home run. I'm super excited to have all of them. So
yeah, and the thing I really like about it is I'm now starting to learn people's names the longer I've done this. So we've got the Gauntlet. This is then. Do you want to sort of take over so I don't butcher? Because to me, this is very much. It feels very much Tomb of Annihilation, that 5e adventure.
Yep.
Where they go into the jungles, go through the jungle because we've got the hex crawl. And then finally you've got the big labyrinth mega dungeon. But I'm going to shut up now and let you do this.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit it on the head. I think the main note there is that we also understand that Shadowdark is at its best when you're underground or in the dark. So even though, yes, as you progress, you're definitely getting, once you get into the labyrinth, that is all underground. Once you have gotten that far, I think practically all underground. I think yes. But even before, there's like caves and things in the central jungle. But what you're going to find here is 5 distinct regions that kind of progress forward. So like goblin hidey holes or like level 1 to 4. Central Jungle is like levels 3 to 6. I don't know. It's vague like that, but it kind of progresses on. You're going to be encountering a lot of variation as you move, but you'll have some remnants. So like there might be a drow that pops up in the Central Jungle, which is kind of a tease for them becoming a bigger thing once you get into the Labyrinth and the Demon Frontier. But by and large, you kind of move from one to the other. Each one has a collection of 1 and 2 page dungeons, and each one has dungeons that are on a specific hex, and then other dungeons that are more flexible, and you can drop them in several different hexes kind of at your choice, or throw all of that out the window and just treat the book as a bunch of 1 and 2 page dungeons that you can pick from and throw into your own setting. Because there's a very, very, very minor connective tissue storyline that kind of is seeded throughout some of them, but we intentionally kind of made that in the background so that you don't feel like you're, oh, what I must be missing something because I only played through this one adventure and I'm getting all these clues to something else. That's not really going to happen in this. That's another.
Okay, so obviously we've got a little bit of blank pages here, but that's absolutely fine. So this is the gauntlet.
Yep.
I'm assuming you're obviously happy for me to show.
100%. I sent you the whole thing, so you get previews. Yep.
Yeah. So this is your. Wow, you're right. It's a pretty big gauntlet. How many are we running at in this?
So I think it's like 26 rooms and
Well, it's about 4 per person, somewhere around there.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. I would imagine it. There's definitely some things that you should not be fighting in here. It's definitely meant to be. I mean, if you fought everything in this god, you would be dead so fast. So it's trying to thread the needle, right? Like that's the fun thing.
Like this.
Yeah, exactly.
The giant frog. Well, the thing is, like any of these, you don't have to outrun the monsters. It's just outrunning the rest of the party, isn't it?
Exactly right. It definitely gets harder as you go along too. This is a gauntlet that giant frog, pretty deadly, and it's in room 7. And there's some absolutely nasty stuff once you get further in. And we got sting bats in there. There's an invisible stalker if you don't play right. There's even a goat giant, because goat giants are probably my favorite creature in Shadowdark's bestiary. So I had to tuck one of those.
Got a roper in here.
There's a roper. There's a wyvern. Yeah. There's a wyvern.
There was. I was talking about this the other day. It was on one of the threads of the Shadowdark book that someone was talking about how they fixed a trap with charisma, and I was like, I've got to, how.
Yeah,
and they basically used their charisma check to get an NPC to go over the trap.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've all used that barbarian trick, haven't we? You go into rage,
intimidate,
run through the trap and then see what happens.
Yeah.
So the initial region we've got then is this goblin hideouts, wasn't it? I think you said, goblin hideouts. So some of them are the difference between fixed locations and locations that you can just sort of put sort of random wise. Is that what?
Exactly. Exactly right. Like here's some that and the kind of the thought is like those pre-located ones they probably have something visually that you're going to be able to see from a distance. So it makes sense that if your players are looking on the map, that they could be like, oh, do we want to go to this big glowing tower? Do we want to go to this like big cavern entrance in the side of the hill, or this ruin? Whereas the other things are things that typically, you might stumble upon more likely.
Yeah. And each section's got exterior and interior random encounters then that link back to the other sort of dungeons and the areas that are going on with similar NPCs. Yeah.
Doomhold, Lost Watch, Glowing. Yeah. So get good examples of like 1 and 2 pagers here. Yep.
Yeah. We've got a tower. That's good. Ooh, what's that?
It's a big glowing tower. It's got something weird going on in the top of the tower in the shrine.
The Orb of Wonder.
Yeah. There's very few magic items or creatures stat blocked new in this book. Most everything references the Shadowdark core book. So you saw an orb there. That's one of very few items that are gonna not be already in your possession. So
no, that's good. What about carousing? Where a player's going to go to carouse? Is there a local safe spot?
Listen, I think that's the thing that I'm going to tell you right out the gate. If you play this as a campaign, this is a lower this is a campaign that will have less carousing. We kind of write in the beginning that like, hey, once you make it through the gauntlet, then merchants start to come in or whatever, and there's probably some camps set up in this general region. But it's kind of up to the GM how much they want to seed that in, because the Devoured Labyrinth is very much unexplored wilderness, so there's not a town for you to run into in here. So just kind of be careful with that.
So traditional leveling up by gathering items then, and
Exactly.
potentially, is there any XP creatures in here? I assume there's the odd few.
There's an odd few. I think that it kind of depends on like how you interpret the Shadowdark leveling rules about all that. I would say 100% though, it's going to be tedious to get back to a safe space. Is probably the right call.
I say good. The carousing rules for me, I find them sometimes hit and miss, because sometimes I want players to level up through experience as opposed to going and getting drunk or speaking to gods. You know, if you look at some of the chubby books and stuff, lots of people have got different carousing rules.
No, we don't muck around with that at all in this, as far as expanding that out or highlighting it. It's really about going in, getting treasure, getting XP treasure, killing things, taking trophies, which are all the things that they already detail, and then hauling it back out. Yeah.
No, good. Oh, we went to demons already by the second section.
Yeah, we're hitting at demons already. Yep. Gotta slip some of them in. Yep.
That's a tower going upwards, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, there's a couple, two towers on this one, and that's Throne of the High Botanist, written by John Balvasberger, who's traditionally a horror writer and a Worldbuilding guy, and he's brought some of that dark tone into his stuff here.
See, I love long corridory type rooms, sort of throne room type things in adventures, because they always really scare players. Because you go, is there any? Oh, well, there's a load of pillars going down, and it's about 100 foot. So anything else in the room? Not that you can see.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Nice, safe place. This one. Take a long rest.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, we're in the central jungle now, so you're gonna find a lot more Viperians in here. A lot of like beasts and living plants, things of that nature. We also worked in some adventures that feature a different adventuring party, so like or bandits, as you probably think of them. So you might have a one pager that's about you stumble into another adventuring party's encampment, and they've got a bunch of treasure. How do you handle that? Which I think could be fun.
Yeah. Just I'd probably just go back. I like temples, so this is going to be sort of Aztec Inquiry type sort of temples, isn't it? That's
exactly
kind of
right.
I can't think what they're called. What are they called?
Well, ziggurat,
ziggurats. That's the one. That's
the
one.
Yep.
So, bit more tunnels.
Yeah.
Then into the labyrinth. So I'm guessing this is going to be and then preamble and introduction.
Exactly right.
Sort of stuff. So
that's all actually hopefully done today. We'll find out. So now we're getting into more labyrinthy stuff, more underground stuff. Heavily focused. 4 Brothers 2. And that's kind of at the beginning of the labyrinth, so you have some early stuff. Serpent of the Pink Glow. This is written by Brian Cullen, who did Vast Grimm, which is the sci-fi version of Morkborg. And Brian's phenomenal writer, and he's working on his own Shadowdark thing at the moment. So I'm very pleased that we got his version Shadowdark published thing.
Yeah. Is Vast Grimm the one that I picked up the other day? Not that you'd know. I don't know why I'm asking you that. Like you would know what I bought. Is that the one with the black background and the pinky writing? Is the
pinky writing? Yep.
The cyberpunk one.
Exactly right. That's well. There's also Cyborg, which
I haven't. So if that's one for Shadowdark, isn't it? Vast Grimm.
Yeah. Vast. Yeah. So
yeah,
pinky writing. He's got Serpent in the Pink Glow, so he snuck a little bit of Vast Grimm attitude into this, which I like. So
yeah. I've got Vast Grimm. I haven't read it yet. I just keep buying stuff. I'm saying he's used. Like, let's back this. Let's grab this. And then try and get it read. What I'm trying to do is read it, then record it, and then I can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Occasionally I get longer ones. So is the labyrinth an area, or is the labyrinth a big ongoing part that's then broken down into sort of more
a series of networks and tunnels and caverns underneath? It's kind of like our interpretation of the Underdark, or something like
Okay.
that. Right? Like it's that space, that entire other landscape that exists up beneath the surface. Yeah.
Is there like a central sort of hex map or map that the players can follow? Is it or a little
Yeah,
bit going to be
it's all
abstract?
it's all in that first map, that hex map that you saw, the hex scroll at the beginning.
Okay, I apologize everyone for this. I'm going to scroll back now.
Do it.
I got told off again by someone for
Yeah,
scrolling
that's great.
through
So
too fast.
you can kind of see it here that you start at the top with the goblin hidey holes, and you're working through the central jungle. Then once you hit the labyrinth, it starts to go underground, and the demon frontier is somewhat underground as well. It's this barrier that the demons are trying to push through. Yep, and then you end up with the giant hills, which are somewhat back on the surface on the other side of the labyrinth.
Because that's the end, isn't it? Giant Hills is the last
exactly
one.
right. Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Ooh. Wish I could find a way of clicking off PDFs without doing that.
Yeah.
Thing. Right. Now we need to go back and make everyone motion sickness again.
That's perfect. Yeah.
So, and we are still. That's where we are. Pink glows, wasn't it? We did there.
Yeah.
So how many more have you got left to do? Did you say about 80% done on this?
About 80. I think all of the adventures except for one, which is a stretch goal, are turned over to layout now. So by the end of this week, for sure, they'll be done through layout. At that point, how we do it is they all went through editing, they get put into layout, and then they go back to Andrew and I to kind of look over, do another review, another editing pass. So my expectation is the entire book will have gone through that second editing pass before the Kickstarter is over, and we'll be ready to fulfill it pretty fast. Yeah.
You and your organ grinders.
Organ grinder. Yeah, that's fair. A repeat.
We've Tomb of Giants. We've got some secrets here, haven't we? Well, no, they're not in the book yet.
No.
Are we still at blank pages? Oh, no,
we're probably there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So
the 6 Tombs of the Emissaries are the way that we tie stuff in. So this was written by Will Tramp, and Will Tramp wrote like basically 6 very mini dungeons. They're actually more like encounters that you could put in a different dungeon or in a different hex or wherever you want them. And they're kind of like the Rod of 7 Parts for our setting, in that if you frequent them, if you find them all and frequent them, that there are remnants of an artifact that you can acquire through each one of these giant tombs. And if you acquire all of them, then in the final dungeon, you have an artifact that you can put to use against the biggest boss.
So. Nice. So that's what all these bits are then. So they
exactly. Very, very minuscule things. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah.
And that's coming in 156 pages. So that's what, 112 then, technically, when it's a book plus potentially other.
Yeah, it won't. I'll say it's going to be like in the 112 to 116 range. Like, I should mention Bill is in chat here, and Bill is another one of the writers who wrote 2 dungeons for it, and they're fantastic. And he does Righteous Vow for Shadowdark over on Backer Kit typically.
Yeah. And Righteous Vow, why typically? You work for
I think I say typically because I'm kind of safeguarding myself, because I feel like Bill talked about maybe doing a Kickstarter proper at some point, so I'm safeguarding in case he's rolling up a Kickstarter that I don't know about. But I think he does everything on Backer Kit for the most part. So
yeah, Righteous Vow, that first, I'm not saying the second one, but that first one with those random castles is an absolute stroke of genius.
Yeah,
I just love it. And then you got the weird hag just thrown off in the corner.
Yeah, it was great. I'm really excited. I met Bill at GaryCon actually, and right in the throes of doing this book, so it was a good time, and it got him on board, and it's been excellent to have a bit more Shadowdark expertise on the project.
So if I get to 5,000 subscribers, I'm coming to GaryCon next year. There
you go. Hey, all right.
There's a threat.
Yeah.
Is there enough shopping for my wife?
Yes.
It's not in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, Lake Geneva is kind of a resort type town, so there is some shopping there for sure.
Is it warm enough to sunbathe?
Yeah. Yeah, not in March though. Not at all.
I'll tell her it is because she won't watch this.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
It will be pretty frigid in March. There might be snow on the ground. So
you can sunbathe in the snow, can't you?
Yeah.
So
fine.
So, right, what have we got left on the Kickstarter? Let's just find out where we are on how long you've got left, so people don't miss this. Because it's also coming out quite quickly after it, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, working hard. Basically, assuming that the schedule that we're putting out follows through, we should be ready to start fulfillment as soon as the Kickstarter ends. So what that means is I've still got to build the backer kit, and that takes a few weeks. So we're probably looking at, if this wraps up, I don't even know when this wraps up in
20 days from now. So that's what, the end of the month, isn't it? Almost.
Exactly.
So.
We'll probably be opening the backer kit in second half of July and fulfilling digitally around then. And then the book will be done pretty stinking fast, and the card should be right behind it. So I think digitally you should see it within weeks of the Kickstarter wrapping, and physically it'll probably be a few months, but I think that relatively we should still have a fast turnaround there.
Yeah, no, fantastic, Zach. Right, I've got one question.
Sure.
Before we go, anything else that you're currently working on that you can talk about?
Yeah, a couple things that I can talk about. I'll come back maybe when I've got things to show for them. But I'm working on.
Please do. I'm going to interrupt and say yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm doing a big Pirate Borg campaign book. It'll kind of be maybe like in the 70-ish page range, but it'll be like the first full-on campaign for a Pirate Borg setting. And really for most of the Borgs. Most Borgs don't have a campaign, so we're working on a big adventure. About 12 sessions of play or so. Excited about that. That'll be, I think, coming to Kickstarter late in the year. Super enthused about it. And then the other one that I'll talk about is been announced, and it's coming probably late summer, and that is Raptor Ruckus.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
I can't wait for this one.
Yeah, it's basically if you grab the Borg system and you shuffle a few things around on it, make it a little bit less of a combat game, and you blend it with Jurassic Park, you get Raptor Ruckus. So suspense, chase, horror, tension, that sort of thing. Very squishy characters, very big creatures. And that one's going to have a core book. It's going to have a campaign book. It's going to have a GM screen. It's going to have a bunch of one-shot pamphlets, all sorts of goodies.
My wallet.
I know. It's been my side project, my secret project for, a year and a half now. I'm really loving the layout. We're doing the layout right now, getting a chunk of it done. So I don't have a lot to show off for it yet. That's why we're not doing a big push, but you can go follow Raptor Ruckus on the Kickstarter landing page. And I am super excited to show it off. Oh, there'll be two actual, there'll be a T-Rex sculpt and a Spinosaurus sculpt. So that looks sick. So if you're a miniatures person, these are insanely large minis that look grotesque in all the right ways. So super jazzed.
Amazing. So Raptor, what was it? Sorry,
Raptor Ruckus.
Raptor Ruckus. So, well, you know, I'll cover it on the channel as soon as the Kickstarter's near as well. So, and obviously a Pirate Borg thing, which is always going to be good. Are they both going through Limithron, or is it just the Pirate Borg one?
Neither one will go through Limithron, actually.
Ooh.
I mean, they're both mine. I'll say mine. Obviously, I'm going to have collaborators on both. The Pirate Borg one's going to be called Winds of Hell. It's if you liked the Repentant, and you liked that tone, like this is basically me saying, "Oh, people like Repentant. Let's go there. Let's do a whole adventure, a huge adventure that is all about that vibe." So, it's super great. That one, there's not a Kickstarter page, but that one will be launched. I'm working on that one with Joe Rasso, who is a longtime friend of mine. From pretty much day one, he's been collaborating with me on different things, and he is just he's my better half in the RPG game space. So he's great. And then Raptor is with Frank Tedeschi and Zach Allen and Eric Lillard, who are three of the writers in the Devoured Labyrinth. So if you like their dungeons, you're kind of getting a taste for their style when we get into that book. So
fantastic. So 2 more things to look out for. We've got 20 days on the Devoured Labyrinth, so go and back that. So artwork looks amazing, and there's I think there's about 15-20 incredible artists and game creators worked on it. So it is a big project of love. So I'm looking forward to getting that. And look out for my upcoming review of Zweihander, and then the follow-up review of why I'm no longer playing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Sure, that'd be great. I'm super excited to hear that. So
I'm not, because I'm at the state Cubicle 7 are now sending me books.
So, well, there, yeah.
Can you imagine that? That'll be a short and sweet relationship there.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I worked with Cubicle 7 for a while in their convention circuit, and it was fun, like talking about, they like Zweihander too, which is nice of them. But it's not it's a brotherhood over there, I think, more than anything. So
no, brilliant. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on, Zach, and being my Virgin Live interview review chat type thing. It's actually not made much difference doing this live, because I've kind of forgotten I was live. But thank you. So obviously, as the other 2 books come around, or if you want to come back on for anything else, just give me a shout, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you very much, Adrian. It's been a blast being on. I really enjoyed it. So thanks for the invite.
Thanks. And for everyone else, if you've enjoyed this, please, like, share, subscribe to the channel. 5,000 subscribers. That's my challenge to get me to Gary Con.
Yeah. So if you don't want him at Gary Con, then you can kind of like work that, kind of ride the line there. Adrian's fate is in your hands, I guess is what we're saying.
I thought you were going to say, if you don't want him there, unsubscribe now.
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna wake up with like 2 subscribers in the morning.
You'll be like, right, no Gary Con message received. Yeah,
and I'll have my passport revoked for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thanks for all your comments, and I'll see you on the next video.
There you go.
Thanks, and bye.